Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening to everyone. It's a bit earlier here in the Netherlands. It's a bit later in India. Welcome to the Q&A session for Challenge 2. We're here with Dan Reinders, who is the challenge leader, I guess you could say. He works at Gemeente Den Haag at the Municipality of The Hague. And he has created the challenge for you. So I hope that everyone here are those who have been allocated to the challenge. If you haven't been, then you're unfortunately in the wrong place. This is only for the people who have been allocated to challenge 2. So this is a bit of a bit of a different format to the lectures that we've done previously. It's very much just of a Q&A for you. Hopefully you've already kind of been talking with each other in the groups that you've been allocated to. I think we have around 7 or 8 groups in this challenge. So that's a good amount of people. And hopefully you have lots of questions for Dan. You should have already, of course, read the challenge, so you should have a bit of an idea about what it is. So we have the Q&A function at the top. But what we also have, because I know that some people sometimes struggle with this, is we also have the chat function. So I'm just turning it on now. Actually, I realized it was off before. So if you want to type out your questions, or you can also raise your hand, and then we can unmute you. So it's a bit of an open session. In the meantime, while we wait maybe for some questions to come in, Dan, do you want to maybe explain a little bit more about what you're looking for in the challenge, what you expect to see, and kind of like, yeah, these types of what is the end point, I guess.
For sure, Alexander. Thanks so much. Well, let me first start with the expectations, and I honestly can say that I have high expectations because I've been to in the last decade that I've been with the city of The Hague. I've traveled to India on various occasions, and each time I was quite impressed by the amount and the depth of the knowledge and the innovations and the entrepreneurship in India. So I'm also very, very much looking forward to assessing the contributions for this challenge in this Indo-Dutch cyber security school. So that's something that I'm very much looking forward to. I'm also here today to go into the conversation that might already be there based on the challenge description that we previously shared. Just to give you a little bit of background information, I work for the municipality of The Hague. So The Hague is the third largest city in the Netherlands, with approximately 550,000 inhabitants and a metropolitan area of more than 2.7 million people. And The Hague is also the seat of the Dutch government and home to a numerous amount of international organizations and tribunals and non-profit organizations. And that makes for the fact that the Hague, or therefore The Hague is known internationally as the International City of Peace and Justice. And for peace and justice, security is essential. And that is also why we have been working together with a lot of different partners, some of them who are also involved with this cybersecurity school. We've been working on strengthening the city's cyber resilience, but also the city's cyber security ecosystem for well over a decade. Within that effort, I'm leading the city's cyber resilience program that focuses specifically on the city's unique risk profile as International City of Peace and Justice with the organization that I just mentioned, and the city's critical infrastructure and processes. in terms of electricity, in terms of hospitals, and so on. Basically, all those organizations that make sure that the city can function. And with those efforts, we typically look at the traditional cybersecurity things. So really about protecting data and systems against cyber threats. But in the last couple of years, we've seen that the threat landscape obviously evolves and also moves more and more into the information space, so the content of the data. And that is why we thought it would be interesting to, well, interact with you via this challenge to see, okay, what kind of solutions could you come up with that actually help us as cybersecurity professionals be better prepared against these new threats that focus more on the information space. So we're talking about disinformation, but also about hostile information campaigns through these traditional internet means, but maybe also via new emerging technologies and platforms. So that's maybe to kick it off, a short starter from my side, Alexander, on the way that we came to this challenge in the first place.
Amazing. Yeah, it's I think it's always really fun when there's a real kind of I guess reason why you post a challenge, and I think it's great for the students as well that they, it's being able to really help and I guess provide hopefully some really innovative solutions as well. So I see we've actually got one question already in the Q&A. How deep in the alternatives should we go? It is part of the key tasks, but can obviously be quite a large part. And then I guess a follow-up question, how should we balance the four different key tasks?
Well, I'm obviously the thing is, as a practitioner, I'm of course interested in analysis and like theory and how things work and like the bigger trends and developments. But ultimately, I'm mostly looking at, okay, but how is this actionable in my daily practice? So in that sense, um, I would say like really focusing on the tools and the gaps which will provide clear solutions. Okay, this is something that you could use in your daily practice, or perhaps this is something that in a just form you could easily use. Is possibly most useful. Then again, the interesting thing about this topic, I would say, is, and therefore I thought it would be also quite suited for this Indo-Dutch cybersecurity school, is that in a democracy, it is of course, well, you always have to balance between different values. And in terms of cybersecurity, okay, that's not a very political topic, but when it comes about deciding which information is in fact legit and which isn't, that's a totally different story. So I could also, I would not be surprised if ultimately what you come up with would not directly be something that's actionable for me as a civil servant, as a municipal practitioner, but could be for our partners. So it could also be an action perspective in which the city is actually more of a, how do you say it? Like, is not the one actually deploying the tools, but is organizing the conditions for the people and organizations that are best suited to combat this challenge to take action, if that makes sense.
Amazing. So We just have a little comment. So just to reiterate, if you're not assigned to challenge 2, you do not need to be here. We do not count these as part of the attendance. And same with challenge 1, which is happening at the same time. If you're part of challenge 3, 4, or 5, it's happening next week. So just keep an eye out on that. So this is for challenge 2 with Municipality The Hague. So just to make sure everyone is on the same page. So I think you went a little bit into it. I don't know if Dan, if you can see the Q&A as well. I'm not sure because maybe it is easier and you can.
Yeah.
If
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it is good to really quantify, provide data. So that's the question that's on top in the Q&A for me,
Mhm.
because the conceptual understanding is something that we more or less already have. So what I would be interested in is, okay, how are you coming up with the argument from your side, and how have you built up that argument? And then it helps to have like tangible data to support that. Um, uh, I think it would also be good. Um, I mean, you can talk about general tactics, but of course, if you look, like I mentioned, the risk profile of the city, we always look at, of course, okay, what can happen, but what is also the possibility of something happening. And in that sense, specific attackers could be more relevant to one country or one organization or one city than another one. So that would, of course, I mean, obviously you need to focus on the general tactics, but if you can further dive into the specific challenges for the Hague, that would of course be much appreciated. In that sense, that could also be some sort of a link with one of the other challenges that I thought were on the agenda, but I'm not sure how that specifically works. But the challenge of Hunt and Hackett, which also focuses on more the threat landscape and how those risks could actually materialize on a local level. The third question of Prachi is the tools. Well, I mentioned one, so this is a starting point for you, and I'm very curious. Of course, I have an idea, so I will also be testing that. But you should be able to find more interesting case studies and other things when searching the internet. Um, yeah, and the same goes for your fourth point, I suppose.
I I think one thing that is that I think maybe students might be worried about is that of course The Hague is a Dutch city, so a lot of stuff is in Dutch, but at the same time there is a lot of material out there which is in English, and I don't think students are expected to know Dutch. I know
No, for sure.
most of the students, most
No,
students here are
yeah,
Indian, so mhm.
no, for sure. I mean that's a great point. Um, Honestly, there isn't so much written in Dutch on this topic. There are some great English publications, so you will be able to find that information. And the information that's publicly available in Dutch is very generic. So you will not miss anything if you, or so far that I'm aware of, though. Uh, but you will not miss anything if you focus on the English publications, I suppose.
Amazing. So. I think those are all the ones at the moment. Don't forget if you can also raise your hands if you have questions. This is kind of your golden chance. We only have this one Q&A, so really ask anything you want. And then yeah, I'll let people maybe just have a minute to see if they want to write anything.
And what could also be interesting, right, is, and that's what I mentioned earlier, like um, there's, of course, like I said, like the amount of knowledge and also experience that you have in India could be very, very interesting for us. Also, when it comes to the democracy or the elections that you've had, and so case studies from India, like translated to the Netherlands, could also be an interesting approach. So I'm very eager to learn more about that.
Mhm, mhm. Amazing. Um, of course, if there's no more questions, then we don't have to stay for more. But I'm just saying again, this is your the one opportunity. You can use both the chat and the Q&A. I know that some people have trouble with the Q&A sometimes. Um, but I just actually got a private message, which is a bit less useful. But I'll just ask it out loud. How much they are saying that they don't have very much of a technical background. So how much kind of how much can be done on the more policy side, on the legal side, rather than the very technical side? Or do you really want to, yeah, in that sense, what are you looking for?
Yeah. No, I am very much looking to the more technical aspects. So there are, of course, a lot of non-cyber measures that you can take in terms of pre-bunking and debunking, which is, I mean, you obviously need an IT infrastructure for that as well, but it's a different kind of measure. So what I would be interested in is really seeing but you can approach it from different perspectives. Let me dive a little bit into it. So um, when you are running a cybersecurity operation, you basically have all these kind of technologies set up, right? So you have a SOC, you have an incident response team, and so on, and you take care of all kind of like pen testing and all kind of preventive measures. You have a management system in which you classify the risks and so on. And so all these kind of methods or measures are already in place. So there's different frameworks like the one that was mentioned, but in cybersecurity, a lot of organizations use the NIST cybersecurity framework. There's other ones as well. You have syscontrols. You have like so many different frameworks, but they all more or less focus on a concrete like overview of all the different measures that you need to take to more or less achieve a certain level of resilience of cyber maturity. And typically those kind of and you could for instance look at the MITRE attack framework, which provides insight in the full cyber kill chain. So what does a attacker need to do to actually deliver the actions on the objective and deploy ransomware or extract data or whatnot? Like those kind of measures or attacks tactics are typically then being countered by certain measures. And if you do not have that technical insight and say, okay, but this kind of tactic would also be suited to counter disinformation attacks or information campaigns, then you could also look at more from an organizational perspective, right? So what kind of things should the security team within a individual organization be looking at to counter disinformation? So I understand that can be challenging. Like the starting point for this challenge was really the technical. perspective, but obviously it's about the learning experience, and there could be great value also in the approach of more from a policy or legal or organizational management perspective. So I'm also very much looking forward to receiving those kind of ideas.
Amazing. Yeah. So we just have a bit more of a question on the organizational side on where to find the timelines to complete the challenge. So yeah, so this is I can say a little bit more about this, but it is also in the challenge kind of document itself and also the study guide. So if you forget what I say or you can't quite hear me, it is all written down and you should already have it as well. Basically, the challenge has now begun. Basically as soon as this is finished, you can all get started. You should already have your groups. It is, of course, your responsibility to talk with your other group members, whether that's, via WhatsApp, or Discord or TeamSpeak, however you want to do it, or just via email. It's all fine. You have each other's emails now. So the challenge has now begun. And the deadline for you is the 5th of November. So that's in about 1.5 weeks, I think. Yeah, about 1.5 weeks, almost 2 weeks. So you've got a good amount of time. And the deliverable, what we are looking for, it's a 3-minute video. And maybe Dan can kind of say, if there's any particular format on that 3-minute video he's looking for, maybe not. In the past, we've sometimes had some challenges are very specific in what they want, others are very much be creative. But one thing that we are very strict on, and that is more on our side, is it has to be 3 minutes maximum. If it's 3 minutes and 1 second, unfortunately, we cannot accept it. So this is the only bit that we are very, very strict on. This is just purely a technical reason for us. So there might be a little bit of issues on my audio. I hope it's not too bad. Cool. So yeah, so 3 minutes maximum. So yeah, so maybe Dan, I'll pass it over to you now. Is there any particular thing in terms of how the video should be made that you're looking for, or are you quite happy to keep it open, keep it nice and creative?
Yeah. I mean, the last thing, that's
Mhm.
perfectly fine. I'm really looking at it. Also doesn't have to be like the highest production value. It's really about the content. So I will really be assessing that the creativity, the innovativeness, the actionable, the extent to which the solutions are actionable, and whether there's a clear-cut idea who's gonna really use those solutions. So to see if the solution that's provided would also actually fit that kind of organizational practitioner. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And that being said, for me it's a very open innovation process. So I'm well looking forward to seeing what you come up with.
There we go. So yeah, so just be as creative as you can, but of course still stick within the what is being asked. So we've just got a quick question from Selena about the previous session. So I mean, in that sense, this is the first session we have for Challenge 2. But in terms of course, all the lectures that you have been attending so far are of course very useful as well in answering, this challenge. You've been learning now a lot about different aspects of cybersecurity, and there will of course be, I think, useful information in there. And so if you want to look back on any of the lectures that have happened, they're all on our YouTube. So if you just type in IDCSS, or like Cyber School IDCSS, something like this, on YouTube, and you will find all of the lectures that we have uploaded. So we just have a question from Chandra Sakar. Process to work with the mentor. So this is, to be fair, maybe mentor is the wrong word to use, because Dan is here now to answer questions, but apart from this, it is a project for you. so you are with your team, and Dan is essentially kind of the judge, the professor, marking the challenges, and he will at the end, after the deadline, also choose a winner. So in that sense, you've heard kind of what Dan is looking for, and that will of course influence who he thinks has the best 3-minute video at the end, if that makes sense. Are there any other questions? Just and of course, if you're unsure about anything, the study guide has quite a detailed section as well, on the whole challenge process, and it has all of the exact dates in there in terms of the deadline. I think it's 4:30 in the afternoon Indian time is the exact deadline. So you still have a little bit of time on the 5th as well, if you need to do. I know it's always last minute editing, how it goes, the crunch period and stuff. But yeah, if you want to stick your hand up, that's also fine. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. So the mentor, Dan is here now. He can help answer any questions, but otherwise it's there's too many groups for him. If you have, let's say in a week you suddenly come up with a question, email it to us and we can forward it to Dan, and then we can get back to you. If suddenly you're really unsure about something and it's not in the study guide, we can see if that works. But essentially, it's now, it now is up to you. Yeah. And I guess if there's no more questions, we've been here for half an hour. Like sometimes these Q&As are very short. They're only like in the past we've had them for 15 minutes. Other times they go on for the full hour. So how do you know your groups? So you should have gotten an email if you signed up for the challenges. They went out, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday. So check your spam if you didn't get it in your thing, in your inbox, and yeah, you should already be allocated on your emails. It was from the address of cyber school at hcss.nl. Yeah. Any last questions? Otherwise, we will leave it here. I think we'll leave it there then. Thank you so much, Dan. I think it's been useful to kind of set the groundwork for what you expect and some of the details. Like I said, if you have questions down the line, email us. And yeah, we can see how it goes. What you can do, I just see there's one quick final question. Where can you do the challenge? I mean, it's up to you. There's a lot of free kind of video editing software. In terms of actually delivering the challenge to us, to HCSS, it can be in any format. It just needs to be accessible to us. So if you try and send a 50 gigabyte file via email, obviously it's not going to work. Send it in a WeTransfer or in a shared drive or something in an MP4 format. That's we're quite easy about that, but it just has to be a bit accessible. But there's lots of free video editing software that you can use. They're all fine to use. Okay, any final words from you, Dan? Last words of advice, confidence?
No, well, thanks so much, and I really, really appreciate all the interest in the challenge, and very much looking forward to the work that you will come up with. So I'm very eager to assess all the applications, and wish you all the best in working out this challenge and come up with solutions that I think are very, very much needed in the current day and age. So good luck to you all.
There we go. Good luck, everyone. Just as a final reminder, we have the last session of today in about 1 hour. So you have a bit of a break before the next session. So it's the last game session with Michel Rademacher. So it's really important that you all show up there. It's the last of the cyber resilience game that we are doing. But yeah, have a little bit of a break, have a snack, have a drink, and we'll see you soon. And thank you again, Dan, so much for this, and speak soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye bye.